Fear Collective, super stoked about today's video because we are getting into the scares and subtext of Amityville 2, The Possession. So, I am not a fan of the Amityville Horror, the original movie from, 1979? I always thought it was just boring and not really scary, not really effective, and wasn't a fan. But I heard that there were something like 20 plus movies with the Amityville name in them, and some of them are sequels, some of them are prequels, and some of them just slap the Amityville name to get views. But I thought I would do a deep dive into those films, or get as far as I could into them, because why not? I have a YouTube channel where I review movies, and I thought it would be a fun little project for myself to work on. So I kicked the project off with Amityville 2, The Possession. I skipped the first one only because I told you I'm not a fan. I might watch it and review it, but I just don't really feel like I want to right now. So I started with the second one, and I gotta tell you, it was a wild ride. So 3 years after the original Amityville Horror rocked the box office, the sequel came by way of Amityville 2, and it actually acts as a prequel where we are meant to follow a stand-in for the DeFeo family. I think they're called the Montelli family is the protagonist family that moves into the titular house in the film. And it basically is the DeFeo murders that are real-life murders that really happened, but with a different name. And it doesn't make any reference to the original because I believe this is meant to be a prequel before the events of the original film. Essentially, this is the family that is murdered before the Lutzes move into the house, which is what we see in the first film. So the film begins. Did you guys see that? So the film begins, standard enough. A family rolls up to the house. Oh my God, this is such a pretty house. Oh my God, we're so excited to live here. And we all know that, like, wow, you're gonna die, basically. But the family is dysfunctional. They're all kind of arguing with each other, and the dad, which is Polly from The Rocky, it's freaking awesome to see him, is like coming down hard on his son, and there's some weirdness there, and we're like, okay, what's that about? And the family moves in, and then weird stuff starts happening. Emphasis on weird, because this film is just so not scary. It's just kind of laughable. There's a part where the tablecloth mysteriously floats off of the table and lands on a mirror, and there's like a close-up of the mirror, and you can literally see the wires that pull the tablecloth off the table, and it's like propping the sheet onto the mirror super awkwardly, and I was really surprised that they did a close-up of that, but whatever, it's all in good fun, and that's kind of what you expect going into this film. I was very much aware that it was probably going to be pretty hokey, and it was. I was not prepared, however, for just how freaking bonkers this movie is. So I mentioned that the family is dysfunctional because they fight and they argue, whatever. They erupt into an all-out brawl. Literally every single member of the family is involved in this really heated argument where, like, the wife scratches the husband, and then, like, the husband's, like, beating the kids with a belt, and the little kids are crying, and it's a whole thing. This film has a lot of familial drama, which, could be actually very interesting. It reminds me of Hereditary, where we basically saw this modern American family falling apart, crumbling, and it was a very, dramatic, kind of cathartic experience to watch this family in peril, and while these paranormal things happen around them. This film does that, but with a lot less class. But it's still fun to watch, and I still enjoyed myself. I will say that this film has some really problematic and somewhat triggering elements to it. There's family members who get physical with other family members, and not in a violent way, but in a really questionable. Okay, there's incest. The brother and the sister hook up, basically, and if you're triggered by that in any way, shape, or form, steer clear of this movie because it's so out there. You're literally like, what even is this? But if you can get past that, it gets back to the paranormal stuff, and it completely turns into an Exorcist ripoff, complete with sequences of the mom going to a priest, asking him to bless the house, and there's some really weird stuff going on in the house. Please come by. He goes to the house and he's super creeped out, and there's flies, and it's basically like the original Amityville film with some really effed up familial drama with the Exorcist. And it's a whole lot, but it's a good time. So the first chunk of the film is following the Montelli massacre as we know it. All of that happens the way that we kind of expected it to. There is some really interesting body horror elements to the film, which kind of make it fun in an unexpected way. His neck starts like pulsing because I guess the demon or the evil of the house is inside of him, and that was all fun. And then midway, the movie completely pivots into this, and it becomes something else. It becomes like a procedural cop drama. There's courtroom scenes, and I was like, who wanted this? But it's still, so honestly, full disclosure, I turned it off at that moment because it was late, and I was like, okay, I did not ask for a courtroom drama in an Amityville film, so I turned it off. But the next day, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I should probably finish watching the film because I'm going to be reviewing it. And so I turned it back on with a better attitude and finished it. And I actually did enjoy myself because as corny and as cliche as all of this exorcism, priest, the Christ compels you, holy water stuff is, there's something that's very endearing about it. I mean, it's the early 80s. The acting is hokey and the effects are silly, but it was still enjoyable in such a weird way. And I had a good time with it. So essentially, the priest, exorcises the demons out of the boy and asks the devil to instead possess him, exactly like The Exorcist. And the house explodes a lot, and voila, that's Amityville 2. So, subtext-wise, it was challenging for me to derive out of this any serious themes. As I mentioned, there's the family dynamics and, incest that are used as plot points when I feel like that's just such a missed opportunity for maybe doing something a little bit more deep with it. You can personify familial unrest through the use of ghosts and hauntings, and I think that's kind of interesting. And as I mentioned, Hereditary is a film that comes to mind that did that very well. This film didn't really do that. But all in all, I thought some of the camera work in this film was interesting and engaging. There's use of mirrors and shadows that make for some really interesting shots. The body horror practical effects were awesome, top notch, and super gross, and I wasn't expecting that in this film at all, so that was definitely a high point for me. All in all, scare factor, I give it a 1. This film was not scary in any way. Impact, I would say 7, no, 5 out of 10. I mean, this film didn't really have to exist, but it must have been doing something right because a million and one sequels followed it. I think ultimately there's something about the Amityville series that captures America's curiosity. Maybe it's just the haunted house trope that everyone can relate to and be fearful of. Maybe it's the fact that it's based on a real life American crime that rocked the headlines in the 70s. Or maybe it's just, a popcorn horror film that are kind of serves as guilty pleasures. Not really sure, but a million sequels followed. If I'm going to buy, stream, or pass on this, I would recommend streaming it. It's on Amazon Prime for you to check out. Otherwise, just wait till it's free because it's really not worth a lot of money. I probably will purchase this on Blu-ray if I can find a good deal on it, only because I'm weird. But if you're not a fan of 80s horror, kind of campy, hokey acting, and if you are easily triggered by, family abuse and all of that, then maybe you're probably not going to want to watch this one. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. I'm going to be reviewing Amityville 3D next, which I'm super excited about, and I will catch you in the next video.